Many of us know the feeling of being totally broke, paralyzed by anxiety, or told by every expert that our ideas are impossible. Thor Heyerdahl grew up as a sheltered kid in Norway, surviving 2 near-drowning incidents that left him terrified of the water. Despite that fear, Thor developed a theory about ancient humans crossing oceans long before modern ships. But just as he began his research, the world changed. World War II arrived, cutting him off from his homeland and draining his family's wealth. He found himself stranded in Canada with a wife and 2 young kids, facing sudden and extreme poverty. His rock bottom was a total economic collapse. To keep his family fed, the researcher spent his days at a smelting plant doing industrial carpentry, while his world-changing ideas remained stuck in his head. Thor eventually managed to write an 800-page book explaining his theories, but he faced an immediate wall of rejection from the academic experts of the time. Critics labeled his ideas suicidal, claiming that a primitive wooden boat was physically incapable of surviving a transoceanic voyage. The experts argued that porous balsa wood would absorb seawater and lose its buoyancy, sending the raft to the bottom within 2 weeks. When the gatekeepers of a system insist your goals are impossible, fighting them on paper is rarely enough. You have to physically build the proof yourself. Thor pivoted. He stopped arguing with the academics and decided to build a primitive balsa wood raft and cross the Pacific Ocean himself. The industrial carpentry skills he learned while working manual labor became the tools for his success. He oversaw the construction of the raft using only primitive logs and natural hemp ropes, avoiding all modern metal. He overcame a total lack of funding through pure hustle, convincing the military to donate leftover survival gear in exchange for testing the equipment in the middle of the ocean. He recruited a crew of 5 men who were willing to risk their lives on an expedition that the rest of the world considered a death sentence. On April 28, 1947, the Kon-Tiki was towed off the coast of Peru and released into the crashing waves. Thor was finally forced to face his childhood terror of the water head-on. Building your own path happens when you take the leap, despite being terrified and underfunded. The Pacific was unforgiving. For 101 days, the crew lived on a tiny deck surrounded by massive storm swells and crashing whitecaps that threatened to overwhelm the raft. Thor's strategy was built on a specific observation. A rigid boat hull often breaks by fighting against the waves, while a raft can survive by riding with them. The primitive engineering worked. The natural sap in the logs repelled the seawater to maintain buoyancy, and the ropes tightened as they dug into the soft wood. The ocean simply washes through the gaps in the logs instead of smashing the craft. The sea Thor once feared became a natural highway. The currents carried them toward their destination while providing a constant supply of fish to feed the crew. A rigid hull shatters against the weight of the swells, while a raft that moves with the ocean stays intact. After 101 days and over 4,000 miles, the Kon-Tiki reached a Polynesian island. Thor had mathematically proven that his theories were possible. Success was immediate. His book about the journey became a global phenomenon, selling over 30 million copies worldwide. The former laborer was now financially independent and globally famous. His documentary footage even won an Academy Award. By stopping his requests for permission and taking his experiment directly to the world, he forced the system to acknowledge his results. Thor used his new wealth to fund massive archaeological projects, including famous excavations on Easter Island, to uncover the secrets of ancient civilizations. He eventually became a fierce environmental activist. Having seen the oceans at surface level, he witnessed the devastation caused by industrial pollution and plastic waste. He addressed the United Nations, warning that destroying the oceans would inevitably lead to the destruction of humanity. In 1978, Thor performed his ultimate protest. He intentionally burned his reed ship, the Tigris, to the waterline to demand an end to modern warfare and the global arms trade. Thor Heyerdahl utilized his fears, his poverty, and the doubt of his peers to build his success. He reached the unknown by learning to ride with the forces of the world instead of fighting against them.